Let's fight. Happy International Women's Day to each and every one of you joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Welcome in the ring. Let's fight, folks. Quite a program we have lined up for you this evening. Quite a program, and we want you guys to share the live stream as per normal. Wherever you're joining us from, share the live stream. Share the live stream, folks. You know by now by heart that is the price of admissions. We ask that you share the live stream. Good night to our folks on Twitter. Again, we're ever heartened by the following. We're growing on Twitter. And if you guys are on Twitter who are joining us on Facebook, look for me at Sharon Avery Duncan. And if you're on YouTube, it's Sharon Duncan on YouTube. And we're all across a lot of the pages on Facebook streaming simultaneously. So guys, as you share the live stream, as you come on, you share the live stream, we're going to do the same at our end. And so we thank you for that. And as we start right off the bat, happy International Women's Day. And I hope that you got a chance to wish some of the women happy International Women's Day in your life today. We hope that you weren't too busy to do that, folks. That you were not too busy to do that. And so, as you know, we're going to wait until we hit a particular magic number, and then we are going to start rock and roll. But in the meantime, we invite you guys to share the live stream, and why don't you, perhaps even in your comments, wish someone a happy Women's Day today. Do that for us, folks. And by the time you're through doing that, have hit we should have hit our magic numbers. By the time you finish doing that, we should have hit our magic numbers. And so we're going to start quite a program lined up for you. So let's get settled. Cross. Let's get settled very quickly. We are looking forward to the program this evening. Just like you, I feel like I'm going to be a spectator this evening. That is what I feel is about to go down. And again, wherever you're joining us from, at home here in Guyana or in the diaspora, we wanna say welcome and to let you know that you are indeed important to us. You are important to us, folks, and we want to make sure. I hope that we're coming across clear at your end. I don't want any challenges where that is concerned. So I hope we're coming across fairly clear. Karen, we're going to try it our end because I think I'm seeing some bubbles. I don't want to see bubbles. So let's try and clear that up, folks. We want a good presentation for the folks who are joining us. We want a great presentation, as a matter of fact. So let's make sure that we are streaming crystal clear. Crystal clear at my end. Folks, it's a privilege to have so many of you with us already. Destiny, some of the regular, I see Indira Jaffarali, one of our fans, Brenda Braffett and Jean McKenzie, Donna David and Desiree Felix. We have Anton December, Robin Barnwell and Petal Thorne, Bernice Carter, Aladdin Jafar, so many folks joining us this evening. Happy Women's Day to each and every one of you. Whether you are PPP, happy Women's Day to you, folks. We love you guys. Whether you are APNU AFC, happy Women's Day to you. We love you guys. Whether you are CI, TCI, Liberty and Justice Party, whoever you are, we love you guys. And we say a good evening. Some of you would say a blessed good evening to each and every one of you. Happy Women's Day. Happy Women's Day to all of you. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking these minutes out of your busy day, busy evening, whether you're at work, you're at home, you could be doing so many other things, but you chose to be on with us this evening, and that counts for something with us. Folks, we see value in you, and we value you, and we know that you feel the very same way about us, right? Cuthbert and Jem Adams, Stephen Beaton, and Anne-Marie Selby, Lorenzo, Joseph, all of you guys, Isima, is it Grudge, Sherilyn, Sharoda, a very good night to all of you folks. And we always say the price of admissions is for you sharing the live stream. That is what we require of you guys. Share the live stream. Twitter folks, good evening. Happy Women's Day to all the folks on Twitter. Folks who are celebrating even a birthday today. Happy Women's Day. I saw one of my Twitter followers and somebody who I follow on Twitter and happy to follow her celebrating her 23rd birthday. So happy birthday to you. If you're looking tonight, you know yourself. Happy birthday to you and all the other folks on Twitter, our friends on YouTube. A good evening to each and every one of you. We're getting a few challenges here at our end, but we're going to sort things out. I want a crystal clear transmission for you guys. We got some minor challenges. How was the day at your end, folks? We have survived. We have survived the day. Another day on the dam. Jennifer Crawford, I see a comment there. A very good night to you and your family as well, and all of those other folks who are joining us in New Jersey. Tamara Isaacs, happy Women's Day to you and all of the other women who are watching us tonight. Wherever in the diaspora, wherever at home, you're joining us. Whether you're joining us from the hinterland, you're joining us from Linden, Berbice, Region 5 and 6, Region 8 and 9, 1 and 2, wherever you guys are joining us from. We wish you guys a happy International Women's Day and International Women's Night. We hope you guys had a great day. That somewhere along the line, you got pampered a little bit, right? And you have had a great day. Andrew, Caleb, I'm seeing you there. Who are you watching us? Andrew's watching us from Park Slope in Brooklyn, Region 11. Andrew, very good evening. And thanks for joining us all the way from Park Slope in Brooklyn. We see Angeli Abrams, we see Suzette Marshall, all of you wonderful folks. All of you wonderful folks who are joining us in the diaspora and here at home in Ghana. Those of you who picking us up in the Caribbean, who might not even be Guyanese. Folks, I'm so happy that all of you guys could join us this evening. Lynette Fraser joining us from UK, and all those persons from the UK in the house. We say happy Women's Day to you, to your wives, if you might be male, to your daughters. Happy Women's Day. We see we have Tracy Smith also with us this evening. Nazir Alim Shaw. Folks, good evening to all of you. Good evening to all. You are valuable. We see value in you. You are valuable, folks. Stay with us. Guys, are you ready? I don't know, but I am fired up and I am ready to go. So much to discuss tonight. So much bacchanal happening in this country, folks. It's only because of resources. We could give, 4 shows per day. We among the things that happen in this country all the time. Brooklyn, New York. Is it Tamzin McFarlane from Brooklyn, New York? I see your comment there, Tamzin. I see Diane Daniels from St. Martin's is in the house. I see Susan Marshall watching from St. Lucia. I have, is Mr. McFoy. I am struggling to pronounce the first name, but Mr. McFoy is joining us from Montserrat. Montserrat is in the house tonight. Folks, I got added, or sometimes pronounced Adele Semple, joining us from Antigua. Man, the diaspora has turned out tonight. The diaspora indeed has turned out this evening. And I have Don Clark Gordon from one of my favorite places, Amelia's Ward, Linden. Amelia's Ward, Linden. I have also Violet Boyle, again from Antigua. I have Nazir Shaw, my apologies, joining us from Monrepos, right? Nazir Shaw joining us from Monrepos on the East Coast. Folks, thanks that so many of you are joining us tonight. Folks, let's get to work. Quite a few things to discuss. And again, first and foremost, I want to say to all of you, happy International Women's Day. And I have the privilege of having some very, very strong women in my life. I have my aunt, my sister, my mother, I have my wife. so many cousins, so many great cousins. Giving a shout out to Tina Europe. Big shout out to Tina Europe, my cousin. So Tina doesn't have to be vexed with me for the rest of the day, and Tina can give me some likes. To all of my cousins, to all the women in my life, the teachers who have influenced me, whether primary, secondary, university. I had some strong female teachers. We say in the Christian tradition, I've had some good spiritual mothers and some good spiritual sisters as well who have helped shape the contours of my life, and I am immensely grateful. And so I celebrate all of them. I celebrate all of them, right? Each and every one of them. I celebrate them today. All of the women who are responsible for me being the fine young man that I am today. The handsome gentleman. Folks, if you don't say nice things about yourself, don't expect anybody to say. So, all the women who are responsible for me being the fine, handsome, well put together young man that I am, folks. Happy Women's Day to each and every one of you, and all of you who join us from the diaspora and at home here in Guyana. Ladies, you especially are responsible for this show being what it is. Happy Women's Day to you, and a happy International Women's Night even to you. Hope you have an enjoyable rest of the day, folks. Give us a share as you come on. Give us a share. Let this be a night where you give us a share if you don't ordinarily share our program on social media. If you're on Twitter, give us a retweet. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. I'd love to see some of your comments. I see Ian has joined us on YouTube. Folks, internationally, we are following some news that broke today. Of course, well, since yesterday, rather. Of course, there was this interview of all interviews between the Duke of Sussex and the Duchess of Sussex. That was given last evening with the one and only Oprah Winfrey. And boy, oh boy, was that an interview. Folks, was that an interview? Yes, it was indeed. And I want to bring you guys some of that, and we're going to have some comments. I'm going to have some comments for you guys at the other end.
In a devastating interview, a visibly pregnant Duchess of Sussex told Oprah Winfrey her royal life in London left her suicidal.
I just didn't want to be alive anymore. And that was a very clear and real and frightening, constant thought. And I remember how he just cradled me, and I went to the institution and I said that I needed to go somewhere to get help. I said that I've never felt this way before and I need to go somewhere. And I was told that I couldn't, that it wouldn't be good for the institution.
So were you thinking of harming yourself? Were you having suicidal thoughts?
Yes, this was very, very clear.
The young family sharing a video from a Californian beach. But Meghan says before she had baby Archie, there were conversations about his status in the royal family and about his race.
In those months when I was pregnant, all around the same time, so we had in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What? And you're not going to tell me who had the conversation?
I think that would be very damaging to them.
Well, what is particularly striking is what Meghan shared with us earlier, is that no one wants to admit that there's anything about race, or that race has played a role in the trolling and the vitriol. What was that conversation?
That conversation I am never going to share. But at the time, At the time, it was awkward. I was a bit shocked.
Can you tell us what the question was?
No, I'm not comfortable sharing that.
The strain, Harry and Meghan say, ultimately driving them away from the UK and from the royal family.
When we were in Canada, I had 3 conversations with my grandmother and 2 conversations with my father before I stopped taking my calls. I took matters in, by that point, I took matters into my own hands. It was like, I needed to do this for my family.
The couple say the British press played a major role. A story about Meghan making Kate cry, one of many Meghan says was untrue.
Was there a situation where she might have cried or she could have cried?
No, the reverse happened.
Crucially, the couple say they felt unprotected. The scars are clear.
You said that you love your brother and always will love your brother. You didn't tell me what the relationship is now.
The relationship is space at the moment. And, you know, time heals all things, hopefully.
No comments, guys, from the palace this morning. Perhaps that's to be expected. The couple do say they have a good relationship with the Queen, and announced another piece of news that on another day would have made headlines about having a baby girl. Savannah?
Folks,
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite.
And I'm not going to waste any time this evening. I mean, this interview had me at, when we start talking about skin color of the baby and not giving this baby security and a title. And so right up front, you know, if you've been following my page, this evening is a good evening to all except the Queen. You understand me? A good evening to all except the Queen. By now, we expect better of the British monarchy. Better, right? And I, for what it's worth, I am full team Meghan and Prince Harry. A good evening to all except the Queen. We got to stop this foolishness and nonsense in the 21st century. A good evening to all except the Queen. And I'm going to come back a little later on and tidy that bit up with some of my thoughts. But I don't want to keep my guests for this evening waiting at all. Folks, I want to welcome the one and only Amanza Walton Desir, Member of Parliament, the one and the only. Amanza, very good evening. Amanza, just touch your audio for me. I'd be grateful.
Hey, Sharon. Good night. How are you?
I am great, Amanza. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Amanza, I had the privilege of hearing you a couple hours ago, if so long. You know, give a very beautiful presentation befitting International Women's Day at the parade ground where the coalition had an event to recognize the hard work of women and also protests in this way what has transpired in the National Assembly with our colleague Tabitha Sarabo Halley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Manzi, tell us, as we are on the close, the curtains come down on International Women's Day. We understand as a coalition that every day really and truly is Women's Day. But what is the takeaway of this year's International Women's Day for the Guyanese people? And I hope you stick around and walk us through some of our hot topics just after.
Well, precisely what you said, Sharon, that it cannot just be one day. It cannot just be one day. And like I said in my presentation, for me, it's not a celebration necessarily, because I feel as if, given what transpired in the National Assembly, we have taken several steps backward. And so for me, it's more a call to action, I would say, for us to ensure that the gains that we have made are not reversed. We have made considerable progress over the last 5 years as it relates to women and women's rights and, you know, closing the pay gap, etc. And I am afraid, given the disposition of the current administration, we are in danger of reversing those gains. And so it is a call to action to ensure that we do not go back there. We're going back to a lot of things recently. The cocaine, you're seeing shipping out. Lawless. It seems as though we're going back to a lot of pre-2015. And so you know, I have concerns. And so we have to rally with each other to make sure that we do not lose those gains.
Yeah, and one of the refrains in your presentation was respect for women. You say it's a call to action this year, respect for women.
Yeah, we have to be respected. I mean, listen, this is not up for debate. This is not up for suggestion or any such thing. It is a basic tenet of any functioning democracy that women folk are respected, are not treated as chattel, are given autonomy over their bodies, are not subjected to economic and emotional abuse, etc. And so these are non-negotiables now. So it is for us women to stand up and to demand it. And I keep saying that the only reason, and I'm saying this cognizant that I'm a politician now, the only reason that the PPPC administration can get away with stuff is because we are letting them. And they have managed to divide us politically. So, we don't see a woman, we don't see a sister, we don't see a mother, first of all. We see a AP and new AFC woman. We see an Indian woman. We see a PPPC woman. Had we as women just seen women, then Isaiah and Joel Henry's mother would have received much more support in calling for justice for their sons. And so it's an indictment on us that we have failed to rise to the occasion that is necessary. We as women have allowed ourselves to be so colored and blinded by politics and racism that it's crazy. I was looking at the Meghan Markle and Harry interview just now, and I really do hope that it serves to underscore to us Guyanese that we are all really one. We are all really considered to be one people. We have allowed, unfortunately, certain influences to infiltrate our society and allow us to be, it always concerns me when I hear us talk about color of skin, because we know that the predominant races are Afro and Indo-Guyanese. There are some Indo-Guyanese that are darker than I am. There's some Afro-Guyanese that are quite fairer in complexion. And so to make a distinction in the color of your skin is not necessarily, it is imported racism. We are more of a texture of the hair kind of people. You understand? And so we cannot even correctly define our struggle. We import things about it. Doesn't matter the color of your skin. Yeah, yes, it does. But in our context, we have to realize that vis-a-vis the outside world, when we all travel out of Guyana, we are minority. And so that Meghan and Harry story brings into stark contrast the fact that this is the reality. Meghan can
and Meghan is quite fair.
Exactly.
Meghan is quite fair, quite affluent, and Meghan is considered black and unwanted.
Exactly. And so we are down here in these 83,000 square miles, killing ourselves out. And the truth is that when we go outside, we are one thing. We are considered all black people, for those who didn't know. So it really is sad that we have allowed this race thing to divide us to the extent where we are now fighting and killing each other when there is more than enough here for everybody, Sharon.
Yeah. Manzo, as we're coming on, and as you alluded to, we saw that there is a cocaine bust. Now it's cocaine in saltfish, right? Cocaine in saltfish, and it says that 6 held for cocaine sticks in fish bone destined for Miami. A couple of weeks back, it was cocaine in something else, 300 pounds of cocaine in containers, I think, in Jamaica. And then prior to that, we had the 11 tons of cocaine. I mean, we don't plant cocaine here. Amanza, as a member of parliament, who letting the cocaine pass?
Well, the cocaine wasn't passing before.
Somebody letting the cocaine pass now.
So it got to be somebody. It has to be somebody. And so, look, but Sharon, what is so regrettable about all of this is that as Guyanese, we're not even going to come together enough to say that this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
Because to say that this is not acceptable seems to be an attack on the government. And we seem to be of this mentality that as supporters of any government, we shouldn't criticize them. How do you expect better? Today I had a rant on Facebook because I was saying I had blackout all day. The entire East Bank was in blackout. And instead of us as Guyanese, I'm not talking about AP and UFC now, just as Guyanese, demanding better utilities. We got time to cuss down Matty about who they doing what, who they doing what. We are entitled to a better standard
Yeah.
of living.
Yep.
The rich ones have their generator, and you are busy out here cussing and defending them. And they have their generator. When the lights come off, loops, their electricity comes on. Right away, back up. You have to be fumbling around in the dark because you do not have the strength of character and the courage to say, you know what, this is damn strippiness. I don't care if I'm PPP or whatever. We deserve better utilities. You go to some of the smallest islands, they don't know what is blackout. You mean 50 something years into
Couple years later. Yeah.
and so this is what we have to deal with. This is where we have to recognize that as a people, we have to stand up and demand better.
Exactly. And I could not put it better by any means. I could not say it better. While we run that and this cocaine bus, I picked up on social media just during the course of the day, Manzo, that a young woman named Sonia Ann, who is involved in children's work, would have shipped some children's stuff from the States for a school here. I think she would have lost her children by some means. Our condolences there. And so she's now picked up this passion of taking care of other people's children. And so she shipped a container of stuff for children. And she was crying out on social media, like you in terms of the blackout. She was crying out for justice because somebody told customs that she was shipping cocaine. And this was the state of the stuff after customs was finished tossing up the container. This is the state in which the stuff arrived at the school.
And this is just symbolic of Sharon, just the disregard. It is just the disregard.
Yeah.
Guyanese have allowed themselves to be abused. So why do we expect the authorities to treat us any differently? Can you imagine? Can you imagine this consignment? From what I learned, was addressed to the school. My God, like how far have we descended in such short time that you do not feel it necessary to exercise just a level of care for another human being?
Imported. I don't think we've ever had a case where we've caught anybody trying to import cocaine. Cocaine somehow meets it in this country and it's just shipped out. So this was being imported, right? We weren't there when the 11 tons of cocaine was passed, the 300 pounds recently, and now the ones in the saltfish. But they're harassing a woman who is importing stuff for a school.
For charity, for a school.
Yeah.
No, my God. Even if you are going to search it, God, put it back in a proper manner. I could imagine how hurt her heart is because she would have spent her own money to do this. And just to have, I think Godfrey Stacia needs to apologize to that woman and make whatever restitution that needs to be made. So if he's listening to us, I'll do like CN Sharman, call on Godfrey Stacia to reimburse that woman for the expense. Because it's abhorrent.
Yeah. Amanda, I want to turn your attention to a local government issue that we saw during the course of the day, where you had, I think, 5 councillors from the Rosignol, Zeeland, Neighborhood Democratic Council that resigned today, again, because of the pressures being brought to bear by the fraudulent Nigel Darmlal, the local government minister, who was pressuring them to move the vendors from the roadside there. All of a sudden, the vendors in the government's way, and he was forcing them, and they resigned. They will not be subjected to this kind of political direction.
Yeah, well, Sharon, it is a shame, but I will say that is their monster that they created. They must bell the cat. We've been saying all along that these people really don't care about the people. They don't care about their supporters. And all that we're seeing is a manifestation. The question has to be whether their supporters have the will to stand up to say, look, no, we're not having this. You all have run over us for too long. Because the truth is, Sharon, and we are getting all of the complaints that their supporters are punishing.
Yeah. And Philip of them.
That their own supporters are punishing.
Yeah.
You understand? And we are getting the messages, but we can't say anything. Well, it is your monster that you created. You either suffer under them, continue to suffer under them, or you stand up and you speak up. Don't wait to ride on the coattails of the people that are carrying the fight. Stand up and speak up and demand more for yourself. And so I commend these people who would have resigned in protest. It is a commendable step. Quite a commendable step. But again, like I said, Darmlal is their monster that they created. They have to deal with it.
And as we were saying here just last week, it's only when the shoe pinching, right, then the wearer gets worried and tries to change it. And we saw that with the very vendors there at Rosignol Market. We saw that with the very vendors, I think in Region 2, that has some challenges with this government. We see this with the nurses in Linden, right? That the government is trying to run over.
The truth is that the PPPIs pass their supporters. And the truth is that they do not see their supporters as people. They see their supporters as pawns to keep them in power. Because these people have been selling at a Rosignol Market for years, Sharon.
Yeah.
And as one of them said, under the AP and new AFC government, they never had to deal with any harassment. Yeah. People were allowed to go and ply their trade, but you know what? They're taken for granted because on any given day, the PPP could go and hold an underground bottom house rally and say to them, the black man can rape your daughter and you have a frighten and so on, and they will come back into the fold instead of seeing and understanding.
And Rice Flour gonna come back.
Yes. No, but listen to me, Rice Flour coming back is not a bad thing. It's $12 for 1 kg of rice flour because people have woken up and they're now going organic. And so rice flour and cassava flour and these things are carrying a price. And were we not so hamstrung by this whole thing that it represents some kind of Burnhamite ideology, we would get ourselves together and capitalize on those types of markets. You understand? We would capitalize on those types of markets. Those same cane sugar farmers that they're keeping tethered to the sugarcane fields, if they diversify, if they take some of that $7 billion that they're paying, what the fella name that runs the place, the turnaround expert.
Yes, Narayan.
Yes, some of the $7 billion that they're taking to pay their people fat salaries, instead of taking it, diversifying, giving some of that same money to their supporters, giving them land to farm, enabling them to access markets for these alternative crops. Those men and women would carry home far more than the paltry amount that they carry home at the end of the month cutting cane. But you see, me and you are two black people and we can't tell them that because we are to be mistrusted. We are to be distrusted rather.
Yeah.
And so these are some of the fundamental problems that we have. And unless we tackle them head on, we're not going any place, I'm afraid, Sharon. We could bubble around for the next 50 years whilst they fleece the treasury, rape the treasury, and they get richer and their friends get richer, and you know, the rest of people remain in abject poverty.
Manzo, I haven't heard that word for a little bit, bubble. But indeed, some people in this country bubbling. They're bubbling.
It's true. And then the thing that the problem that I have, Sharon, is that everybody's looking for somebody else to solve the problem. It begins with the man in the mirror. What are you doing to make Guyana better? What are you doing? There's some PPP supporters right now that are working hard to make sure they leave a legacy for their children, to make sure they leave property for their children and all of these things. But what the PPP does not tell them is the way that they are plunging this country into debt, they had better hope that their children will be able to hold on to those properties that they're slaving away for to make sure that they get. And these are the types of conversations that we have to have.
Well said, Amanzo. Well said. I want to turn your attention to an issue at the central government level and what I call bizarre leadership of this fraudulent catfish government. You would not believe it, but just yesterday, Amanzo, the president was at the President's Cup that was being ran at the Everest Cricket Club. I think it was a cricket game that was being played there. And the news report said that the president left immediately upon arrival. A few moments after he arrived, after realizing that COVID-19 protocols weren't being finished. And folks, I invite you to share the live stream so we can share this information with as many Guyanese as possible. But when you check, for instance, the Facebook page of the fraudulent President Irfaan Ali, you saw scores of photographs that he stopped to take with fans who were there. So clearly, Amanzo, the president wasn't incensed enough not to even be seen fraternizing with the fans who turned out there. The president left, apparently. I mean, I thought good leadership would have shut down what was happening and be the last to leave, ensuring that everybody would have left and not, put their lives in jeopardy. But the president was so incensed, he left moments after arrival, but only after stopping to take photographs with probably everybody in Everest Cricket Club. Is this leading by example?
Well, of course not. This is theatrics, bare theatrics. And I think the fact that they're still smarting from the fact that the coalition was considerate enough to have a vigil for the 200 people who would have lost their lives to COVID. So they're now having to play catch up. That's all that is.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, this whole bravado, this sudden bravado, he suddenly woke up 6 months later, didn't see when the private sector was, dropping a jambilash in the COVID task force for Palm Court, didn't see when sleeping on Church Street was doing its own thing and still doing its own thing, didn't see when big major events like the race they had at the circuit recently was happening. Suddenly on the day when 80,000 COVID vaccine arrives in the country, suddenly he has a bravado to say that he doesn't like the fact that his event, the President's Cup, was not following COVID-19 guidelines.
Yeah, it's like I don't place any weight on it. I understand theatrics. And so, I don't get these things do not impress me. So, next hot topic.
Next, the president, the fraudulent catfish, Irfaan Ali, met today with the ABC EU countries. And interestingly enough, at that meeting was the puppet master. Now, if there was ever a picture that depicted the third term, this picture did exactly just that. Here is Irfaan Ali with the puppet master meeting with the ACB EU countries today. I mean, what is this, Amanzo? What is this about? Is this a puppet show or this is governance?
It appears to be a meeting. There's no secret that the man is serving a third term. You got to give him credit for his ingenuity and how he accomplished it. But on a serious note, we have got to demand better. I think Guyana is like an abused woman right now. The whole nation, the psyche of the nation is that of an abused woman. And so you're looking for any little bit of hope, you're looking for any sign of compassion, you're looking for, some kind of, like I said before, hope. And so, we celebrate the most mundane things, things that should be a given. It's like a woman who husband beats her all the time, so that when he does come home one night and he drunk and he in beaches, like, oh, thank God. That is the psyche of Guyanese right now. And we need to examine ourselves. We need to examine ourselves. The truth is that in most other countries, the lawlessness that the government carries on could not have happened. But like I said, the psyche of Guyanese right now is that we are that of an abused woman. And unless we begin to speak up and empower ourselves, unless we stop acting from a position of fear, look, there is enough for everybody. It does not have to be where one group of people are marginalized and victimized. There is enough in this land for everybody. Why is it that a certain group of people believe that they must subjugate and subject other people to not having and to hunger
Yeah.
and to just,
Yeah.
what is it? What is it? And what is it that we as a people would believe that it is okay to empower those types of people
Yeah.
in office? So I think the problem is with the Guyanese people. And we got to admit and say to ourselves, well, look, damn it, we have just been taking too much for too long. You can't get proper light 50 years after independence. You cannot have a day of reliable. I mean, listen, it was remarkably better when David Patterson was managing it.
Yep. Yep. Agreed.
So
Agreed.
I think we have to begin to look at ourselves as a people and look at what we have been accepting from the government of the day, of any
Folks who are
day, mind you.
Yeah, folks who are joining us, we invite you guys to share our live stream, retweet on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, give us a share on the Facebook, on any one of the pages you might be viewing us on. Manza, just recently, the fraudulent catfish president, Infant Ali, spoke to the Guyana Police Force about rebranding, about changing their attitudes, professionalizing the police force and all of that, never hinting once that they are the ones who are degrading the police force by their political dictates and by choosing their favorites. But apparently, over the weekend, some police officers didn't get the memo. I want to show our viewers some video of police in action over the weekend and get your thoughts at the other end of it. Folks, be warned that some colorful language is used here, but I'm certain it's nothing that you aren't accustomed to. But just as a warning. Welcome back, folks. Amanda, this is policing 50 years later. You understand why we can't find a boat out at sea with dead people with no engine. And incidentally, the Minister of Home Affairs said that the boat found recently in Guatemala is not that boat. You understand why we're in this conundrum?
I think, Sharon, all of these things are just symptomatic of where we are, just an abused society, just a battered society. Understand that
the PVP.
when assault and battery is promoted in the National Assembly or condoned in the National Assembly, what hope does the population have? What hope does the population have? I will say that the Guyana Police Force has to guard itself against being weaponized against the people. Because you see, the PPP is playing a strategic game of putting their people in place. The people that they know will fire on civilians or order that civilians be fired upon.
Yeah.
And so this is why, as leadership, you have to exercise restraint in terms of mobilizing your people, because you have to be cognizant that you're dealing with a group of people who don't have any bones about doing that. We have the Linden martyrs. We have examples before us. And so the very people are now back in place. And so the hesitation of the people is understandable. But I want to say this, the people in the diaspora have a key role to play in leading this fight. There are things that they can do. All of these things we are highlighting here, they can call their congressmen and their congresswomen and bring it to their attention. And so the diaspora has a role to play.
Yeah.
They have to express the fact that the people are afraid of the police. They have to express the fact that the people do not wish, whilst they are unhappy, they are also scared. And we as leadership have to be cognizant of the fact that we cannot expose our people in that way. But we have a voice. They can't stop us from speaking. They can't stop us from writing. And so we have to begin to use those avenues that are available to us. Not just come on the social media, on the stream and crying out. Pick up your phone and place a call to your congressman or your congresswoman and say, hey, I'm not happy with what is going on in Guyana. The government is practicing racism in Guyana. You understand? You need to bring these things to the attention of the people. Because like I said, when we pass off of this earth and we leave our children, they are the ones that are going to be facing the consequences of our action or our inaction.
Well said. Imagine we've been dealing with the issue of Kwame McCoy and his assault on Member of Parliament Tabitha Sarabo Halley. We have been talking about this issue. It is featured very prevalent on social media, especially. We see government published this morning a photograph with McCoy, part of the I Choose to Challenge campaign, where again this campaign is aimed at mitigating gender-based violence and also inequality on International Women's Day. And also I picked up this evening, we picked up on social media, Mr. McCoy had a International Women's Day message. He probably got some women from some place, give them a few hampers, and this matter of his now infamous assault in the National Assembly should just die away because he's playing a role to empower women. What are your thoughts, Samantha?
That all of the women in that photograph should be ashamed of themselves. You see, the government thrives on instilling fear that we're going to lose our jobs. But if Guyanese should wake up and realize that they can't fire all of us, if the nurses should wake up and realize that they can't fire all of us, meaningful change can happen. Meaningful change can happen. For as long as people are willing to be bought out and to be compromised in the name of comfort, or to think that if they do this, it's a case where the alligator is going to eat them last, all are involved and all will be consumed.
Yeah. And talking about being bought out, Amanza, we had a very low level member of the coalition, member nonetheless, Ivan Bentham, who was bought out by the PPP a couple months ago. And Ivan thought it would have been heaven and earth, the PPP winning government, quote unquote, winning fraudulently government. But Ivan has learned the hard way. I want you to take a look at this and give me your thoughts on the other side.
Joining the PPP and taking part in the campaign, upcoming campaign, would be a very good opportunity for you as a young person.
Executive Director of the President's Youth Choice Award was asked to leave his office even as he was on his way out for the day. Ivan Bentham said he has a one-year contract with the Ministry of Sports and that he found the action strange. Bentham crossed the floor from the APNU AFC to join forces with the People's Progressive Party. Now he's wondering what could have gone wrong and wants the president to look into his matter.
They've ordered me to leave the premises without any information. And to me, this is one where I find it very unjustifiable, and I don't know what's the reason behind it. So I'm calling on whoever has the responsibility to look into this matter, expeditiously. I'm not too sure who is directly involved in orchestrating this, but I'm asking the government of Guyana, through His Excellency, President Ali, to look into this matter.
Bentham says he plans to return to work on Monday and he's not sure if his contract signed in September was terminated or not.
I've been unable to reach out to the PS on numerous occasions. Every time I call, she's always unavailable, either at lunch, sometimes after lunch hours. Not getting refunds for the program. I've gotten tired, so to speak, with the back and forth.
Amanda, there's a song prevalent in the airwaves currently. Call swing, even swing. Is this a cautionary tale for others who might want to swing?
Sharon, it's for me, it's even deeper than swinging. It's as long as there's politics, there will be people who are opportunists. I think one of the things we have to guard ourselves against is offense.
Mm-hmm.
There are some of us who get so deeply offended by somebody that we prefer to break up the whole baby party. We prefer to jeopardize the whole rather than to preserve the whole. And so it's a cautionary tale on both sides. It's a cautionary tale because I'm sure he might have suffered some kind of offense and therefore felt he was justified in what he was doing. So that it is a cautionary tale against those of us who would be so deeply offended that we prefer to break up the whole baby party. That we are so deeply offended that we allow ourselves to be used as pawns to destroy the whole, not realizing that in doing that, we are destroying our own selves. You know, and so it's a cautionary tale on both sides. It's a cautionary tale that maybe as leadership, there are times that we need to exercise a little more care and concern for our speaker, for our people, sorry. It is a cautionary tale that maybe we must guard against being used when we find ourselves being angry and feeling, hurt, etc. We must guard ourselves against being used because it's a very human thing. That they hurt me, I vex with them, I can go with y'all. But in that moment, you have to pause and realize that you're doing more damage to the whole. And they will never trust you. They'll never trust you because if they could get you away from what you say you support, then how could they trust you? And so it's a cautionary tale all around, not only for Mr. Bentham or Mr. Gaspar or any one of them. It's a cautionary tale for us who may become offended by something somebody does. That we have the maturity to check ourselves and say, you know what, y'all doing about this stupidness, you hot
And
me.
the plan that is put into play is not your plan. So you get vexed and you say, well,
And this is
I can
something
swing.
we have to guard against. Everybody will come into this thing with their own gifting, with their own talent, with what they bring. And what we have to do is respect each other. Sherrod's plan is going to be a good one time. Aman's own might be a better one for a particular situation. And so we have to examine ourselves. So we got to use Bentham as a cautionary tale for us as well.
Amanzo Walton, Desir Member of Parliament, I want to thank you for spending this time with me this evening on International Women's Day. And I look forward to many other programs with you, ma'am.
Always a joy, Sherrod. Stay well.
Great. Thanks again, Amanzo.
All right. Bye-bye.
Folks, there you have it. Walking us through several of our hot topics this evening, Amanzo Walton Desir. And as we go, folks, we want to remind you that COVID is real. Never mind, Infant Ali has just decided to grow a pair. Folks, COVID is real, believe us. And so we encourage you to sanitize, wear a mask, social distance, do everything. Do everything in your power from becoming infected. Don't say that we got vaccines now, so we're gonna operate anyhow. There were 7 new cases of COVID today. Total confirmed cases in Guyana, 8,814, folks. COVID is real, right? And if the president cannot do anything about it to manage your health and your safety, you got to take matters. We have to take matters into our own hand. And so we say, these are the international guidelines: social distance, wear your mask, sanitize. You're not supposed to be in large groups, folks. Understand it by now. Social distancing, it's so important. So important. Folks, with that, we say a good evening to all of you. A good evening to all of you, except the Queen, because we watched the interview last evening. And my God, this is a royal family with heading to royal ruination if they don't change their ways. And it begins with the Queen. Perhaps she's been too long on the throne. Perhaps. Folks, a very good evening to all of you. See you tomorrow evening. Stay safe and happy International Women's Day to each and every one of the women who come out every day and support us. Each and every one of you. Happy International